Hey, welcome in everybody. It's Misha. I want to talk about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease today and fruit juice. And we're going to go into a lot of science and stuff. So hang out with me. I'm going to give everybody just a chance to start hopping in. I talk a lot about insulin resistance related diseases, and I give you a solution that can help it all. So if you don't already know, I'm going to repeat it right now, that insulin resistance is at the root of 95% of all of our chronic disorders today. 99% of us have an insulin disorder, and 93% of us actually have a metabolic disorder, which is an array of things all packaged together, like a large waist circumference, which we're going to go over how that happens in detail today, along with high triglycerides, high blood pressure, insulin, and high sugar levels. So they all wrap up into this thing called metabolic syndrome. And that's affecting 93% of us. Cardiometabolic health is affecting 93% of us. I think it's like 40 to 50% of us have metabolic syndrome. But I want to talk about what all of this is. We're going to start with why and what's happening. So insulin resistance, remember for me that insulin resistance is your body's inability to use energy. Bottom line, okay? So when we eat food, especially carbohydrate food like fruits, vegetables, potatoes, rice, potato is a vegetable, but breads, all of that, it increases our glucose level. That glucose is energy for every cell in our body. And then when our body perceives this energy rise in our bloodstream, it cues our pancreas to produce a hormone called insulin, and that increase in insulin then gives our body the energy that we need. That sounds amazing, right? So glucose is one source of fuel for our body and our brain. Fat is the other source of fuel for our body and our brain, okay? Right now, most of us are fueling our bodies with sugar or glucose, and that's the problem. You guys are here. How many of you guys are hearing a lot about insulin resistance? Maybe it's just my feed because it's what I look into, but insulin resistance is not only starting to show up more and more for you guys, it's because science is actually finally taking a look at it. All of the things that they used to think were, not all of them, I'm going to say a majority of the things that they used to think were genetic or whatever, they're now saying are lifestyle. And what's changed in our lifestyle is the way we eat, the way our food is processed, and this whole insulin action. You being healthy and being able to gain or lose weight has more to do with your hormones than just about anything else. And insulin is a hormone. Insulin is anabolic. It wants to store things. So it's holding on to things, especially when there's excess. So if it's anabolic and it wants things to grow, you can't burn fat when you're in an insulin-fed state. You can't do much but store fat when you're in an insulin-fed state. So we need to get the insulin down. But today I'm going to talk about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease because I'm one of those nuts that says stop drinking fruit juice. Stop it. It's literally killing you. Okay. Yeah, there's vitamins and minerals in it. But you guys, I've always talked about how we see non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in children as early as 6. The stunning, amazing, like crazy thing I found out today, new studies are showing that we're seeing a prevalence of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Do you guys know what the new age is? What's the age for our children that they're seeing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? Does anybody have a guess? Because it was really shocking to me and damning and heartbreaking. Okay. The new median age for children, or the early age for children with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, went from what I've been talking about at 6 years old, diabetes and all of that happening then too, to now 3 years old. So why are we seeing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in children as young as 3 years old? They haven't been on this planet long enough to be damned by such a disease. By the way, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease means your liver is comprised of more than 5 to 10% fat. So we're going to talk about how the liver is storing the fat, why it's storing the fat, and we're going to talk about our kids, because this isn't just about us adults. It's really telling when we know that 3-year-olds are suffering from this too. They've only been on this planet for 3 years, and they're suffering from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And what's changed recently in our food environment that we're doing to kids that could cause it? Does anybody guess? Because I already said it. Does anybody have a guess? Yeah, it's crazy, Dr. Naka. So it's the fruit juice. And I'm going to go over why it's the fruit juice. You guys, when I go to airports, when I travel, when I see people and they're packing their kids full of fruits and they're filling their bottles with fruit juice, it breaks my heart because I know that this is where it's going. So you guys ready to dive into why fruit juice is causing this and not just the other things? It is the food. Well, it's a lot of our food, but we have been bamboozled. We have been told that, eating the fruits and stuff is much healthier for us. And in some respects, it can be, right? But when we start adding in fruit juice, now we've stripped out fiber and we're giving a high octane amount of fructose to a little body that cannot digest it. A body my age can't deal with it. What are we thinking a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old is doing, drinking fruit juice out of a bottle? Remember, fruit juice is high octane fructose. So would you put corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, in a baby bottle and give that to them? That's what you're doing with fruit juice. Do you guys know that? How many of you guys have fruit juice in your fridge as the healthy alternative for your family to drink? I know I'm not the only one, because when my kids were in school, I didn't allow soda in the house. They had fruit juice. Now I know what's really happening, and I'm terrified that that's ever the state we were in. I now drink tea or water, but there is no fruit juice in my house because it is damaging not only me, but kids, especially my grandkids. Now that I know better, I don't want fruit juice in my house. Here's another clue. I don't drink very often. So, maybe once or twice a year when I'm out on a rewards trip, or I'm out with, Christmas Eve with my family or whatever. And I used to love the fruity alcohol drinks. And then I started learning all this about fructose, realized my gallbladder is gone and my liver's already been damaged. And I was like, cannot do this anymore. So not even then, but understand that the fruit is just giving you too much fructose. So let's dive in. Why is that different? We already know insulin resistance is causing our bodies to not be able to handle the energy that it brings in. So let's break down glucose and fructose, because there's a difference. Okay. Fruit has some glucose in it, but it's primarily fructose, a different form of sugar. So let's talk about glucose really quick so you can understand the difference. Glucose, when you eat it and it goes into your bloodstream, it goes into the bloodstream and the body says, okay, we have energy. We need insulin to carry that energy, and it affects every cell in the body. And in a normal situation, that's great. When it starts to get to be too much, glucose can start causing a problem, and I'll get to that in a minute. Fructose, on the other hand, does not get delivered to every cell in the body and must be metabolized in the liver. So although glucose, your normal sugars, will spike your blood insulin high quicker because it's getting to your bloodstream quicker, and fructose doesn't spike your insulin and therefore your blood sugars and therefore your insulin as quickly. It takes longer to do that. And how many of you guys think, oh, that's a good thing, right? That's a great thing. My blood sugar doesn't spike as high with fructose. But what's really happening is that you're wearing your liver out. You're burdening your liver with this thing. So one of the things that their liver does is it takes this excess energy that we're eating it, and it breaks it down into these little packets called glycogen and stores it away for quick use later. So the liver almost always stores some glycogen in it. I would say always stores some glycogen in it. So when you need energy, when you're fasting or you have something you got to get up and go, instead of trying to pull it from your other fat cells around your muscles and stuff, your liver's right there on the ready saying, I got energy for you, let's go. And so it breaks down these little glycogen stores and passes it back out to the bloodstream, and now you have energy in your blood. With insulin resistance and even with glucose, your liver is starting to store too many of those glycogen packages. So it's starting to get fatty. is starting to get way too much fat and it's getting really heavy and it just can't function right. And now, even when we need that quick energy, when we need those glycogen stores broken down, the liver doesn't quite know what to do with it. So you're not getting the energy you need when you need it. Your liver's getting fatter and your insulin resistance is getting worse. Now, those of you who've listened to me before, I talk a lot about how insulin and inflammation are two things that work against each other, right? Insulin causes inflammation, and inflammation, whether it's from injury, excess cortisol, all of that will increase insulin. When you have all of this excess fat being stored in your liver, you're creating more inflammation. Now you have a body that's insulin resistant, forcing your liver to store too much fat, and the liver's getting inflamed, causing the insulin resistance to get worse. Now what happens is the liver's not only sick, but the rest of the body's not getting the energy it needs either because insulin's just high all the time. That's glucose. But fructose, fruits, fruit juices. Now, fruits aren't as bad. They have they have fiber wrapped around them to slow down this whole process. So it's not hitting the liver as quickly and as strongly. And so I don't have a big problem with fruits. I have a big problem with overeating fruits for the same reason. I don't like fruit juice for this reason. Yeah, the fructose. So when the fructose starts to be digested and going through, and instead of going like through your small intestine and being delivered out to the other cells, it's going directly into the liver. So it's the muscle tissues and the fat that really use up that type of energy. But as fructose is being processed by the liver, and as the liver is struggling because it's getting fatter and heavier and can't do its job more, it starts to not produce those little glycogen stores like it should. And instead, it's starting to produce something in your body called free fatty acids. Those free fatty acids are increasing your triglycerides. How many of you guys have been to the doctor and had your doctor say, your triglycerides are getting really high, we got to get it under control? And they want to give you a pill, a shot of something to bring those triglycerides down. How about you take a look at your cupboard? Because fructose in fruit juice, high fructose corn syrup, are going to be two of the biggest damning things. And yes, honey falls in here too, you guys, as to why those triglycerides are getting so high. It's a direct conversion from your liver not being able to deal with the fruit juice or the high fructose, and it's starting to convert this into triglycerides. Now that's creating more problems with the liver, and the more problems you have with the liver, then the more problems you're likely to have with your heart. Okay, so your liver getting sick doesn't just stay in the liver. It's not just like over there doing its thing. It's going to start to affect your heart. Now you have a higher risk for cardiovascular disease. You have a higher risk for hypertension. You have a higher risk for all of that. So let's see. There's been a bunch of comments, you guys. I'm not ignoring you. I forget to read them out. So that's why it's better to eat the fruit than juice it. Absolutely. So also think about things like smoothies. You're breaking down the fiber and you're allowing that fructose to get to your body much quicker. So how many of you guys knew that? Okay, so we've dealt with fruit juice. That's not great, right? We don't want to have high amounts of fruit juice. I don't have any fruit juice in my house at all. And I used to love cranberry juice, right? How many of you guys, like women, to keep your urinary tract clean, you were always told to drink cranberry juice? That's cranberry juice and pink grapefruit juice are the two juices I used to have in my house. Never was really big on apple juice and orange juice. But anyway, I don't have any of them anymore. So you're overloading your liver. And by the way, fruit juice, ladies, men, those little urinary tract infections, you had too much sugar your body's trying to get rid of, and it's constantly trying to pee it out, right? But you have the sugar that's feeding negative bacteria that's causing some of these issues. So you like smoothies. What about smoothies? So back to the smoothies. You guys, thanks for asking all the questions. So smoothies are marginally better than fruit juice. There's some fiber in them. But when you do smoothies, think about the fruits that you're putting in them. So a lot of smoothies are containing fruits that have very little fiber in them in the first place. You guys are putting bananas in your smoothies, and the fiber in bananas has changed drastically over the 50 to 60 years that I've been alive. So that fructose is still getting to your liver too quickly. And one of the basis, and you guys, I used to, when I started my journey, no, full stop, I drank a lot of smoothies. Thought, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to do this thing because it's quick and it's easy and I can pack it with me. And at least I'm getting vitamins and minerals and all that stuff in. And guess what? The smoothies are just breaking down that fiber. So now you have fiber that you eat. And I'm going to get to that in a second. So much, so much. You guys, I get so excited about this stuff. But you're breaking down the fiber too quickly and it's not able to do its job. So when it hits your mouth, it's already broken down. And then it's breaking down further and further and further. By the time it gets down to your liver, your small intestine, all that, it's broken down much finer than if you just chewed the fruit. By the way, smoothies, protein shakes, like I've done them both, you guys. I still do a protein shake every once in a while when I'm super busy and I need something. But when we don't eat, when we don't masticate, two things are happening. There's enzymes that our mouth creates that are created when we chew. So when we chew, we're creating enzymes that help break down and digest our food. When we drink our food, we're not getting those enzymes and we're starting to have problems. The other thing is, I was talking to a dentist, a different type of doctor, and he said that he imagined that, in another 50 to 60 years, most of us would have jaws that our jawline would recede because we're not chewing food, we're drinking it. So we're not, our bodies, our genetics are perceiving we don't need this thing anymore. Instead of biting on a big piece of steak or eating an apple or, doing any of like an old raw carrot that was really chewy and hard, we're not using these muscles. That's a whole other topic, you guys. But let's go back to the fruit juice, the fructose, high fructose corn syrup. Now remember that it's changed how your body is storing sugar. Glucose can go into the fat cells, right? Fructose is directly causing a problem with your triglycerides because your body's making more of them when you have too much fruits in your system that your liver's having to deal with. And again, remember at the beginning of this, I said we're seeing it in kids as early as 3 years old now. How many of you guys want your children to have fatty liver disease at 3 years old? Does anybody? I don't. And I'm not blaming anybody because I did all of these things too, you guys. I went by the food recommendations. I went by what everybody told me was healthy. And I look back at my kids' pictures and they were getting chunky and they were having visceral fat. None of the things I knew about, I didn't know about any of this. Why would you know about that? Your doctor's supposed to tell you and they don't. By the way, doctors don't get nutrition courses. That's why they're not talking about it. So no fruit juice. Can we agree to that, you guys? Get the fruit juice out of your lives. Get it out of your kids' faces. Get it out, get it out, get it out, because you're damaging their liver. By the way, not today's talk, but when you damage their liver, their gallbladder starts to get damaged. When their gallbladder gets damaged, they have a really hard time digesting food and things and then that inflammation that's being caused creates more insulin resistance and the things just get worse. Okay, so I have a couple of cute analogies here. Let's talk about your liver. So I want you to imagine that your liver is like a garbage disposal. Okay. Yeah. So Irene, it's likely, I could probably be, do I say a lot of double words? I sure do. So it could be that in some fruit smoothies, they're using things like, pay attention. If it's fruit smoothies that contain berries or pears, you're probably less likely to get bloated than if it's fruit smoothies that contain a lot of bananas and maybe tropical fruits and fruits that are lower in fiber. Okay, that might be the difference. So can you have them once in a while? Yes. But if your liver is already struggling and you've already had insulin resistance, don't you think that it may be time to, maybe time, mango, pineapple, she said, and that probably has some banana in it too, but time to start helping your liver out. If you know that you've had insulin resistance and that you're suffering and your AST and your ALT on your blood work is going up, one of the first things I would say in clinic If I was still working with the doctor, I would go to the doctor and say, "Hey, can I tell her to stop eating so much fruit?" Um, so the fruits that I like the best because they're higher, in fiber and lower in sugar are gonna be your dark berries, not necessarily strawberries, but things like blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and pears. Now, apples are really good too, but those the berries and pears are probably the better ones, spiking your insulin less than other fruits. Okay. So those are fruits like when my grandson comes over, we do have grapes now. He's been on a grape kick. I will let him have grapes. They're not very high in fiber, but you know, but when we have blueberries around, I always keep blueberries in the fridge for him, the little 8-year-old, because he already has a problem with his liver. So if he wants something sweet, I'm going to let him have blueberries over any other kind of fruit because I know that it's not going to further damage his little liver. Okay. Makes sense? All right, so this analogy, imagine that your liver is a garbage disposal because that's kind of what it's doing. It's taking and disposing all of this energy that we're taking in. So the disposal is supposed to break down all your food and your waste, like food scraps. But over time, that disposal starts to get too clogged with too much waste, especially with insulin resistance and high amounts of fruit. It starts to become sluggish and inefficient. And then think about your garbage disposal. When it starts getting gunky and cloggy in there and you try to feed more to it, it kind of groans and grinds and it just isn't passing things through and things back up in your sink and get dirty. Imagine that happening in your body because you gunked up your liver. That's what's really going on. Okay. So it just can't handle it anymore. And the waste starts to pile up around that disposal. Your fat buildup in the liver. Now your liver's getting fatty and it just starts to cause a stinky mess. And that stinky mess in our body is inflammation. So when your liver starts getting fattier, it's causing inflammation. That inflammation is going to cue all kinds of other problems in your body. So now, because it's all gunked up and it's all stinky, the garbage disposal can't work properly and things start to back up even more. Now it's fatty liver disease. Okay. Following? So eventually, if you don't clear up that clog, that disposal, your liver could break down completely. How many of you guys have had garbage disposal that just went, done, and you had to replace it? In our bodies, that means a liver transplant for many people. Yeah, it sounds drastic, but this is the truth of what's really happening in our bodies, and it's not what you're being told. Right? You're being how many of you told to cut the fats? That's going to save your liver. Fructose is damaging your liver far worse than any of those saturated fats will ever do. Plus, it's creating all that triglycerides that's creating more blockage in your arteries, causing more heart disease. Starting with things like fruit juice and high amounts of fructose. A little bit is okay. But the amounts that we're being told to eat fructose and the amount of fruit juices that are out there that we're being told to drink as an alternate drink is damaging us drastically. So I see some comments. You just ate 2 apples. Okay. So you know what? And again, apples are high up there on the list. I prefer pears, and geez, I've talked about this before. Does anybody want to know why I like pears so much over apples? Apples have some really good product, some pr- nutrients in them. I get that. So I'm not saying, no, I'm not saying fruits are bad. I'm saying that the amount of fruits that we eat today, especially knowing that our fruits have been changed and don't contain the fiber that they should, are not good. When you understand that the only place that can really metabolize the fructose, the primary sugar in fruits, is your liver, and then you say, okay, we're eating a ton of fruit, now we have a liver problem. Okay, so I'm going to tell you anyway. Pears. We have an enzyme called amylase that we produce when we chew. It's really high when we're kids. Ladies, it builds up in you as you age. Amylase is there to break down sugars quickly. Now think about it. As a child, we want that. We want the sugars, the glucose, to be broken down quickly so that it can get into the bloodstream, give these little bodies all the energy they need to be the little crazy runts they are, and grow, right? But as we get older, we don't need our sugar to break down that quickly. In fact, we're trying to slow it down. But we're building up amylase, and then every time we eat more food, we're creating more amylase. Pears have an amylase inhibitor in them. So not only are they high in fiber, they're less high in sugar. They have this inhibitor that prevents the sugar from breaking down too quickly. That's why I love pears. Plus, they taste great. Who would have thought, right? Big, sweet, juicy pear is probably better for your blood sugar than apple. Either one are good, though. Okay. All right. Back to it. So I got to catch up with where I was in this little talk, you guys. I lose track a lot. All right. All right. So, So the free fatty acids. Now, one of the questions I had, because you guys, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm just learning like you guys. Okay. I talk a lot about when I drink my pre-meal drink, how it creates short chain fatty acids. And yet I'm telling you that fructose creates free fatty acids. Big difference. Free fatty acids are increasing that triglyceride buildup, okay? And they're working in the liver harder. Short chain fatty acids, not free fatty acids, actually help your liver start to function more properly, helping it break down some of those stores of fat and actually get them out to your body as energy. So they're very different things. So when I talk about short chain fatty acids and when I talk about free fatty acids, big difference. One is helping your liver clear out, one is clogging your liver up. Free fatty acids are coming from excess fructose and the sugar that has to be stored because of it. Short chain fatty acids are coming from fiber and like I call it an off gassing from what fiber does in your gut. So breaking down fat, creating fat. Free fatty acids are creating triglycerides. Short chain fatty acids are helping all of that break down and get used. Okay. So just remember that there's a big difference between it. So just also remember it's a vicious cycle with insulin resistance and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So the more inflamed your liver becomes, the more likely you are to be insulin resistant. And the more insulin resistant you become, the more work you're putting on not only your pancreas, but your liver. And what's the one thing that we can all do to stop that load on our liver? Get rid of the fruit juice. Stop drinking it. If you're an alcoholic, it would be great to stop that too, but get rid of the fruit juice. Break down cortisol. I'm not a specialist on cortisol, Red, but I can absolutely do a talk about cortisol and do some research to help you guys with that. Understand that. So there was a question on YouTube, but understand. So I'm going to tell you what I know to help manage cortisol, not break it down, but manage it. So there's a couple of things. You got to get rest. You got to get off the lights. You got to stop watching the TV all the time. Get up in the morning, get some red light in your eyes in the morning, get some red light on your skin in the morning, light from the sun. That's going to help with cortisol levels. Getting good rest and getting away from the TV screens and stuff more often is going to help break down cortisol. Getting your body moving is going to help break down cortisol. Those are some super simple ways, okay? Do you guys want to see an exercise that I found to release cortisol that really has been working for me? It's kind of crazy, but I'll show it to you guys because it's super simple. I've been doing it multiple times a day. I tend to stress with autism and ADHD. That builds up cortisol in my system. So Red, here we go. What I want you guys to do, and this is going to look crazy, but just do it. Pull up on your ears, and then you just want to rock your head back and forth. Not fast, just kind of slow. You're going to start to feel like maybe you want to yawn. Pull up on your ears nice and tight. But after you do that a few times, then just move your eyes side to side. That will help release cortisol in your system. Super simple hack, okay? You guys got it? Eating less frequently will help too. Irene, you're on track. So our bodies are not meant to eat as much as we eat today. We're not meant to eat as much as we eat. We're not meant to eat as frequently. So my mind always goes back. I'm Native American. I go back to what tribal life would be like, what my ancestors, my grandparents, my great-grandparents would have lived like. We would not be eating all this time. And fasting, not having breakfast would probably be pretty common for us. Having maybe one meal a day would be often common. Having a smaller meal midday would be very common, and that meal would likely be high in fats and proteins. And we were much more active and getting that sunlight on our skin. Okay. So, yeah, eating less frequently, stop snacking is going to help. So, Irene, why this is working is because of this. If we go back to what I was talking about, insulin resistance, and we know that when we eat food in absence, I'm going to say protein will spike your insulin a little bit, but not greatly. Okay, and it's going to take longer for your insulin to spike with protein, and it's going to be a more steady spike than things like fruits, vegetables, chips, rice, pasta, bread. Okay, but every time we eat, we're spiking our insulin a little bit. If we're eating those other foods I just mentioned, the simple carbohydrates and even the vegetables and fruits, we're going to spike our insulin higher. And that's going to happen pretty rapidly. When we do, and it's spiking our insulin because it's spiking our glucose. Remember that when you spike your glucose, that's energy, and your body goes, oh, there's energy. We need it to be carried to our cells. Pancreas make insulin. Insulin is going to carry that energy out to the cells. Red, I don't know which part of what I'm saying that you're asking. Where did I get that from? I listen to a lot of ADHD specialists and people on stress and anxiety. And it was something that I saw from one of them, and I've been doing it for a couple of weeks, and I notice an immediate release every time. If you're talking about the ears thing, for ladies, there's another one I can't really demonstrate on live, but there's a lot of people out there that will help you with how to release cortisol. Type it in. It's really simple movements that we can do like that. Red, it really works for me. And I'm still trying to yawn. By the way, that yawn, when you're doing an exercise like that, that yawn is that stress and that anxiety coming down. Your cortisol is releasing and being able to be used in your body. A lot of times we think of as a yawn as just being tired, but if you have that midday yawn, you've done something and you have that big yawn, that's cortisol releasing from your body most often. Okay, so we eat sugar. The sugar spikes are insulin spikes. So if we understand, the one thing I haven't talked about today is it takes about 8 hours for insulin to come back down after we've spiked it. Then if we know that we're eating every 2 hours and we're spiking our insulin, and now we're just continually spiking it, and so it never gets to come down, but we're spiking it higher and higher throughout the day, now we have a problem. We don't need to be snacking. Our bodies don't need it. We weren't built for it. Our brains, the society we live in, the food industry are all telling us to snack all the time. We didn't have all these snack foods in the grocery stores or in the markets, back in the day. Now you go into a grocery store and it's predominantly snack food. Why? We don't need it. It's money driven and we're paying the price for it. Red, you tried it? I'm so glad you tried it. So, and Red, that little exercise that I just said, he said it works. What's not true, Irene? So, doing January 6th, no sugar, no bread, doing protein and veggies. And bread in the US, just full stop truth. And I can't help it. Some people are going to get mad. I don't really care. I care about your health. I have had bread products in Ireland, not in Ireland, in Finland, in France, in other countries when I've traveled, and I've not had an issue with it. I have an issue with it here in the US because it's covered in glyphosates. We'll talk a little bit about glyphosates. I think I'll do a talk on glyphosates maybe next week and how damaging they are to our body. But one of the things that those glyphosates are doing are they're causing inflammation. What does inflammation do, you guys? When you have inflammation in the body, it's increasing your insulin resistance. Your insulin's having to work harder and it's having to work overtime. Now you're overstressing your pancreas and your cells are not getting the energy they need. So we want to keep inflammation down. Glyphosates are embedded in our wheat products and our grain products here in the US. So that's causing a problem. Okay. So let's get back to the fructose fruit juice thing. I hope you all understand a little bit. I didn't go into too much detail, but a little bit why I don't like fruit juice and why I say to limit fruits. So I heard another doctor talking, and it was amazing to me because he was talking about fasting and all the things I talk about. But how many of you guys wake up and have fruit for breakfast or fruit juice for breakfast? What I want you to understand is that if you ditch the fruit at breakfast, your liver's going to have more time to heal. When we're doing this intermittent fasting, part of what we're doing is we're allowing our body to slow down from the overload of sugar and the resulting insulin. Our body needs a break from it. And there's a whole process that happens as we're fasting that our body just needs in order to be healthy. And when we wake up in the morning and we start eating breads, pastas, not pastas, breads, or cereals and fruits, we're spiking our insulin back up and we're not allowing our body to finish the cleanup that we want. So if you want to address your liver, have your fruits later in the day. Do a little bit of fasting in the morning. If you want to do a dirty fast, then have protein and fats in the morning. It's going to slow down a little bit of that, but it's going to allow your liver to continue to clear out and your body to repair. And then in the afternoon or after dinner, have your fruit then. But fruit should not be the first thing we put in our face in the morning. Protein and fats should be, if you're not doing a 16-hour fast. If you are doing a 16 and 8 fast, it's still the same. Protein and fats first, and then look at the other carbohydrates. Today, we're specifically talking about fruits because they contain that thing called fructose. And I just wanted to pass on how damaging that can be to your liver and how damaging it is to our kids when we're giving them fruit juice in their bottles all the time. So that one of the things I want you to take away, if you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, every time you fill a bottle, whether it's an older kid who has a sports bottle or whether it's a baby who has a baby bottle and you're putting fruit juice in that, every time you try to put fruit juice in that bottle that they're drinking from, I want you to close your eyes and think about pulling corn syrup, Karo syrup, and pouring it in their bottle. We know what a bad rap Karo syrup has gotten. And do we know why? Because they understood that, get it, high fructose corn syrup. So you're getting a lot of glucose and you're getting a lot of fructose, and it's killing us, that product. That's why everybody's like, get it out. But when you're drinking fruit juice, you're getting a different form of high fructose, but you're still getting the high fructose. Why is nobody saying get the fruit juice off the shelves? Because it's doing as bad a job as the high fructose corn syrup. Jason, it's so good to see you in here. Donuts have been your kryptonite lately. And Jason, I'm going to admit, like, I started on a thing where I don't know what it is. I just craved bread a little bit lately, that yeasty kind of taste. But I'm working my way back off of it because I just know it's not healthy. My grandson loves donuts. Get this, you guys. I don't want to get political. I want to get to the root of your health. I want to get to the root of our kids' health. And I love that my grandson gets so excited about Fridays. But tomorrow morning, do you know what they're going to give him at school? Every Friday morning, donuts. And the kids that are going to school to eat, do you know what they're getting for breakfast? Fruit juice and probably Fruit Loops. So they're getting processed food that doesn't have a lot of fiber in it, that's spiking their insulin. They're getting a lot of fruit juice that's creating a problem with their liver. They're having energy crashes halfway through the day and they can't seem to make it to lunch. So now they got to have a break and have a snack halfway through the day. It would be so much better if our kids just started the morning with something like eggs and no cereal. That would be so much better. All right. Yeah, totally unhealthy. It terrifies me, Judy, when we're in Kentucky right now. We were in Maryland a year ago. Same thing happened in Maryland. My daughter's in Washington, and we lived in southern Idaho a few years before we went to Maryland with my son. But my daughter still lives in Washington, and that's pretty standard. So, gosh, I'm going to get into that real quick. But do you know why that's happening? because the food industry is lobbying that this is the food that we give our kids, and they're very aware that it's making the kids healthier and that the mom's going to send them to school with more snacks. They're going to sell more food. Your kid's going to get unhealthy. We pass them off to the doctor. The doctor gives them medications and they're still not getting better, but everybody else is profiting. A little bit of conspiracy, but all right, you guys, I told you about the problem. So other than cutting out fruit juice, if your liver is already damaged, if you're already having problems with insulin resistance, oh, that's something I forgot. Okay. Let's go back to the triglycerides and remember how fructose is causing extra triglycerides in your body. If you follow me at all, we talk a lot about some of the top symptoms of insulin resistance. And it's not in my top 5, but it's certainly in my top 6 is a bulging belly, where your belly starts to pooch out, whether you're fat or thin, whether you're young or old, whether you're man or woman, that belly's pooching out. That's called visceral fat. That's brown fat. It has a lot of mitochondria in it. That fat is there to cushion and warm your organs. Now, babies have a lot of visceral fat because they don't move around as much. So we want to keep your little organs growing and healthy as their babies. Hey, Maria, so good to see so many of you guys on today. But as we get older, we don't need as much of that visceral fat. And part of it starts to go away because we're now moving, right? And we're able to create warmth for our organs. Guess what fructose does? Whether you're young or old, man or woman, heavy or thin, fructose not only puts a strain on your liver, but because it's straining your liver, you're now putting on more visceral fat. So now your belly's going out. How many of you guys have seen somebody who predominantly eats fruit and they have this belly that seems to be bulging all the time? It's visceral fat. And remember, I want you to maybe not remember because some of you are very new to me. Visceral fat can build up in your throat and in your tongue as well and cause other things like sleep apnea. But today we want to talk about the liver. So fructose is causing that excess visceral fat. So at the beginning of this, I talked about the difference between glucose and fructose. Fructose really can only get used by some cells of the body, and that's going to be muscle cells, and it can only be processed by your liver. So it's going to create more fat in your liver, causing a problem. That's fructose. Why is it so different from glucose? Glucose can enter your bloodstream without having to go through the liver as heavily. Yes, some of it can get stored in the liver when there's too much of it, but the rest of it's going out to every cell of the body. Fructose does not feed every cell of the body. Glucose does. So now we have something that is clogging up the fat cells. So muscle and fat is where fructose goes. And if you're having way too much of it, you're building up fat in your liver first, and then you're building up fat underneath the belly wall second. Now you're starting to have problems with your kidneys, your intestines, your heart, your lungs, all of that. Everything that's under here is like being crowded out by all that visceral fat. And it started with probably fruit juice. Crazy stuff, right? Nobody really talks about that. So glucose doesn't do that. So where does the jiggly fat come from? I still have some on me, but where does all that jiggly fat come from? That's glucose. When glucose goes out into the system and the rest of the cells are saying, hey, there's too much energy, I can't use it up. Some of it's going to get stored in those little packets called glycogen in the liver, and some of it, the rest of it, is going to start being stored as subcutaneous fat across your body. That's excess glucose. So I'm going to go back. Where does excess fructose get stored? In the white jiggly fat that doesn't look good but isn't doing a whole lot of harm. It does some harm, but not like the brown fat. Yeah, so Jason says, now Jason has lost over 200 pounds. We're going to talk about the protocol right now. So he's lost over 200 pounds doing the same protocol that I did. He says he couldn't take and hold a full breath when he was big because there was just too much visceral fat. It crowds everything out. If you feel you're struggling to breathe, and your belly's poking out, understand it's not just your intestines, it's everything that's struggling in there. And again, I'm going to go back because I'm so passionate about this. One of the biggest causes that's creating all that visceral fat, besides just too much glucose, is fructose. And fructose itself isn't bad when it's wrapped up in fiber and we're eating it reasonably. But when we take the fiber away and we give this high octane, just like syrup as the form of fruit juice, we have a problem for our livers. Why kids are so sick. Okay. So what I want to talk about now is the system that I do, because we get everybody that I've heard talk And even in our group chats behind when I'm learning about stuff, we learn a lot about um, the Unimate. Unimate, the drink, the tea that I talk about a lot, has high chlorogenic acids, helps you create more GLP-1 in your body. Everybody seems to be talking about that. And I feel bad because Jason knows the pre-meal drink balance. I absolutely love it. So here's what's happening with your liver. Why both of these are helping with your liver. Number one, both of them are helping with your insulin resistance. That's great for your liver. The tea helps with inflammation and oxidation in the body. That's going to help all that inflammation in the liver, help the liver to start processing fats more properly, especially if you're getting rid of the fruit juices while you're doing it. Okay. But the tea has components that do that. So let's talk. I want to talk about it this way, then I'm going to explain it in detail. So I want you to imagine that your body is like a car. Your liver is the engine in your car. Now, when you have insulin resistance and excess fat in your liver, especially from having too much fructose, it's like your engine is clogged up with gunk. Remember the garbage disposal? Same thing in your car. Your engine is just clogged up with gunk and it can't run properly. So the engine's trying to work. And how many of you guys have had an engine that's dirty and about to break down, and it just like it won't rev up, it won't get the energy it needs, it sputters and whatever. That's what your body is doing when your liver is gunked up. Okay. So your liver is sluggish and basically overheating and just not running smoothly. Now, this is what happens when you add the protocol that Jason and I do into your day, into your car that is your body. So Unimate goes in and it acts like a high octane fuel that you put in your car, and it gives your engine or your liver a boost of energy, helping it to run more efficiently. Now that car that was sluggish, struggling along, it's running more efficiently. Unimate is doing that. Okay. So it reduces the strain and allows the engine to work better without getting bogged down. It helps your body better handle insulin, which is like the fuel pump. Remember, insulin is the fuel delivery. So it's helping clean up that fuel pump and help it better handle the energy that's coming through. So your engine can now process everything it needs without the clogging from excess fat and sugar. So this is why we combine it with intermittent fasting, by the way. And it's Unimate, this drink that I drink, is like the fuel that gets things moving smoothly again. Think about it that way. So this is what's giving your engine that ability to use high octane fuel and burn cleanly and rev up and do better. That's what this is doing for your body. But the balance, my poor little friend, the balance that nobody really talks about much anymore, the balance is not the fuel. The balance is like the oil that's keeping everything lubricated in your body. So the fibers in balance help prevent that grinding in your engine by ensuring that the fuel, glucose, and fats are processed more slowly and efficiently, lubricating your system, helping you work stronger. When the fuel comes in, now the engine's like got everything it needs to go high octane, right? So that allows the engine or your liver to avoid unnecessary wear and tear, keeping everything flowing without excess buildup of gunk. Plus, it helps your liver break down waste and toxins. So it's synergistic. Both parts of the system actually help in unison to keep your engine or your liver working properly in your body. Now you have less of that pain and fatigue and inflammation and sleepless nights and fat storage, whether it's under the muscle wall of the belly or in your subcutaneous fat. They work together. So when both the fuel, the tea, and the pre-meal drink, the oil, are working together, your car's engine, your body, runs smoothly, efficiently, and without overheating. The gunk or the fat that's been building up in your liver starts to clear out and everything starts to work together. Okay. So in short, Unimate is giving your body the energy or the power it needs, and balance is keeping it running smoothly and clean. They work together, not separate. Okay. They work together. So together in your body, they're helping your liver stay in top shape, preventing the buildup of fat and reducing inflammation so your body can run at its best. Now, we can go back into each one of these products and on all the things they do. I I will probably do a product overview this weekend to kind of get into the science of the products and why they work. But that's it, you guys. All I do is have 2 teas in a day. This is how I helped my liver heal because 4 years ago, my AST, my ALT were out of control. I could feel it in my body. I could tell it in my intestines. I could tell it throughout my body that my liver was just dying. I had fatty liver from all that stuff. My fatty liver is no longer fatty liver. We've cleaned it out through intermittent fasting and through these tools. So I know that the tools are meant to help with insulin resistance. I love to talk about all the reasons why it helps with so many other things. And Tanya Lee, thank you. It's crazy. I don't know. I love analogies because I love the science, but I know that the science doesn't always make sense to everybody else. So I love, and I give analogies throughout my life, but yeah. So think about it that way, you guys. The tea, remember, is giving you the fuel, the high clean fuel. Neither one of these break a fast. So when we look at a fasted state, we're really trying to clean up cells in the body. Also, a fast, even a short fast of 16 hours, will start to clean up your liver. So if you have a fatty liver, if you're worried about it, stop eating all the time and stop snacking all the time and add fuel and oil into your body that's going to help that liver start to function properly again. Okay. So let me see if there's any other questions over here. So RLB, I'm going to give you guys a link. And here's the next thing. Couple more things before I head off today. You guys, I love you. I love that there's so much interaction. I love that you guys ask so many questions because if you can't tell, I get super excited about all this stuff. I get super passionate about it. I actually have goosebumps and I'm sweating at the same time. All right. But this system, something didn't work right. Let me fix this. For those of you on Facebook, I did it again. Those of you on Facebook or on TikTok, it's in my profile link. It's the first link in my profile link. Does the tea contain caffeine? So Irene, it contains naturally occurring caffeine. Okay. Let's talk about the tea for a second. That thing that's making your fuel high octane. The tea does have about the same amount of caffeine as a cup of coffee, but there's some things in the tea. I certainly hope that I'm saving lives. That's why I do this every day. You guys, some days I don't feel like getting on here. Do you know that? Some days I'm just like, damn it, I don't want to get up there. But you guys make it worth it. Like every life that I can change makes it worth it. So the teas and caffeine. There are some other components present in this particular tea that help balance out the effects of caffeine. Some of them, like chlorogenic acids, are present in coffee. Okay. But here's the thing. The chlorogenic acids in the tea are 10 times as high as they are in coffee. But then these are some big names. You don't have to know them, but just understand they're called adaptogens, and they help balance out the effects of caffeine. So there's theobromine in it, and that theobromine is the same thing as like eating dark chocolate. And then there's mate saponins and triterpenoid saponins. So the triterpenoid saponins are going to be similar things for energy and brain function that you see in the mushrooms teas that you see. It's all contained in this, plus every vitamin and mineral naturally occurring contained in this to sustain life. The tea in this is naturally occurring. We don't add any to it. We standardize it at about the same amount as a cup of coffee. And then we up the other levels of things so that it's higher than most teas you're going to find out there. And we purify it. This is my big thing lately, you guys. The purification process that this company goes through, that's why it's in this whole system costs about $5 a day. But the purification process that we go through is what sets this apart for me. Besides the concentration, which is amazing, the fact that molds, pesticides, remember I mentioned glyphosates? Our crops are not sprayed with glyphosates. Anything that may inadvertently get on our crops is cleaned out in this purification process we take it through. And then microplastics, which I've been talking about a lot, which affects your estrogen levels. You know, guys get man boobs. love handles, women start to just suffer from more depression, those microplastics that are getting embedded in us, that gets cleaned out. So now we have a high octane yerba mate tea that's super clean. And you can't find this level of product anywhere on the market. Okay. So again, the caffeine is naturally occurring. Um, just use the link in my profile. Now it's going to take you to a page where it tells you what the products are and how to use them a little bit. And then you get to decide if you're ready, just order it. If you need to talk to me more, then you can talk to me. I'm not pushy. You guys, I freaking hate pushy salesmen. I'm not that. And whether you choose to do it or not, that's up to you. You all get to make choices, but I would hope that you try it. Now, it also comes with a 90-day money back guarantee. Remember, all the good stuff. Red, you know what? My YouTube channel is getting there and we should talk because I will hopefully need a moderator here soon. The YouTube channel is getting crazy lately. Okay, so use the link. You get a 90-day money back guarantee. Please, please, please. If you're going to do this, understand that it's real food products that are giving you back the things that have been stripped out of our diet, like the fiber from the fructose, so that your body can handle today's modern food more efficiently and healthily. So you get a 90-day money back guarantee, but it's going to take 90 days. I'm not going to say it's going to take 90 days, but I want you to see the full effect. So try it. If it doesn't work for you, you get your money back. You get that satisfaction guarantee, you get a quality guarantee. And so the thing with us is, unlike a lot of the other products out there, we're standardized. There's a certain amount of these components that are helping your body and your liver that have to be in here. Every batch gets tested. If it doesn't meet those standards, it doesn't get sent out to you guys. So I'm just going to say, there's another yerba mate product I see all over the place, and it has a little added fiber into it. Guess what? You got the fiber here, and it's a better source of fiber. But they're not standardizing anything, and they're selling it as a weight loss when it's made to be. It actually works better for neural stuff, but they're selling it as a weight loss. So this actually, you guys, is made for your metabolism specifically. About 3 years ago, our company shifted from just being a health company to being solely focused on your metabolism. Every product that we offer has to do with your metabolism and giving you better metabolism. Now, with all of that being said, Red and all you guys that are here, Jason, everybody, I don't talk about this as much as I should, and I need to, because I can't reach everybody all alone. We only have, the company's been around since 1903 in its roots portion, right? But we sell like this. So you get me to get coaching, you get the 90-day money back guarantee, you get the quality guarantee, all that. But I can't do it alone. So I have people like Jason who help me. You see other people on these platforms that are a part of my team. I need people because I can only reach so many people in a day, in a year. And I don't want the responsibility of reaching everybody, but I want to reach a bunch of people around the world. And we are available in 60 countries. So if you're interested in doing what I do, and I'm able to work from home, go hang out with my kids and my grandkids when I want to, travel, hit me up because I need to build this team. So RLB, what about migraines? Absolutely. If you have time, go through my live streams. I did one on neurological symptoms, I don't know, about a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most ago. And I talked about how insulin resistance impedes neurological function through the pathways of your neurons being able to be communicated. And so some of the end result of that creates migraine headaches, Alzheimer's, dementia. It links into autism, ADHD. It links into depression. So I was just starting to get to the point where I had migraine headaches when I started the system. I didn't have them my whole life. I knew other people that did, but I've not had lifelong migraine headaches. However, 4 years ago when I started, I was starting to get them. Like migraines, if you're experiencing them, like all these lights I got on, not possible with a migraine. I would want to go lay down in my room, no TV, no nothing, shut the lights out, and just like pray to God it would end. I don't have migraines. And I know many of my customers that were experiencing migraines have been able to get over their migraines too. And that's through addressing insulin. Insulin is creating this neural pathway disruption. I'm going to leave it very simple like that. Insulin, one of the things that happens is, and so this also leads into neuropathy and stuff. You have neural pathways. It's not just like one big bundle of nerves. It's like a freeway, right? And so there's exits where messages get sent. Now, neurons should be, your messages should be going from pathway to pathway, out the end to the other, and they get distributed. Now, with insulin resistance, these ends of those neural pathways start to get kind of broken, dulled up, and the messages actually can start to go out the sides. And that causes some of the neuropathy and stuff. But migraines is also just your brain not getting energy in part. When you have insulin resistance, it's not just your body that's not getting energy. Your brain is deficient in energy. And the problem is that most of us are running on glucose for energy, and that's all our brain knows. But you know what your brain prefers even more and works really cleanly on? Ketones. So why do we intermittent fast? If you do RLB, if you try the system, and by the way, you get to text me when you try the system. I will answer you. We can have conversations. If you want to text me every day and ask me questions, or if you want to say, hey, lady, I never want to talk to you again, fine. But I will help you through the process. So you ask questions and whatnot, I'm here. But migraines, you're not getting enough energy to the brain. Insulin resistance means it's stunting energy to most of the cells. Your brain can't get the energy it needs. So now you have brain fog. You can get migraines. It will start to cause dementia, like Alzheimer's, the top form of dementia. But it just is causing disruption in your brain. Now, the other thing is it can cause more hunger. When your brain is tired and it says, I don't have any energy, you're getting hunger cues because your brain says, help, but you're feeding it sugar. And what are you guys told? When your blood sugar drops, when all this stuff happens, what are you told, or what do you just know to do? You go grab a candy bar, you go grab sugar, you go grab some kind of sugary high glucose thing to get your energy level back up. And that's just causing more of the problem. Your brain loves ketones. So do you get hangry because you're fasting? No. I will mediate that a little bit, saying in the beginning, if you're extremely insulin resistant, you might get hangry because your body doesn't know how to use fats for fuel. Your brain doesn't know how to use fats for fuel. Ketones are what's telling your ketones are what's cueing your body to use fat for fuel. And fat, remember, is just little glycogen stores that are energy that have been stored throughout your body because we took too much in at one point. Those ketones, by the way, the T helps create it. So what I want to say with this is there is nothing exogenous in these products. Everything that the products do is to support your body to do what it's meant to. So GLP-1 production in your body, this is not an exogenous GLP-1 that's causing damage to your pancreas or your intestines or any of that. It's your body producing its own GLP-1 like it's supposed to, but it's spurned on by 70% higher than we're used to now, which is great for weight loss, for mental clarity, for all satiety. But this also helps your body produce ketones and growth hormone, especially in a fasted state. It doesn't have it in it. It's helping you create it like you're supposed to. Because I could talk just about all day, but I get tired. So here's the thing. When I worked in medical, and when I power lifted, and I had a lot of friends who were either in the medical field or like massage therapists or whatever. There was one gal who was also a world champion that I worked out with and trained with, and she was a massage therapist, but she also worked on a lot of bodybuilders and whatnot, right? Whole community. And she could tell the difference between guys who were having testosterone and who didn't, because it changes your body's structure. Exogenous hormones are very different from endogenous, the ones that we produce. The GLP-1 injections you're getting are exogenous. Your body doesn't recognize them like it does when you're producing your own. And the other thing that I know from working with in a hormone clinic is that when you start giving your body exogenous hormones, hormones that aren't from your body starts to say, oh, I don't have to do this job anymore. I'm not going to do this job. And so it slows everything down. And one of the dangers with those shots that everybody's so excited about, the pathway that allows GLP-1 to be used starts to malfunction because it's overloaded. And over time, you may lose weight in the beginning, but you'll start to have weight problems and other problems later on as those pathways are damaged and not able to operate properly. So I'm all about giving your body the support that it needs to address this multitude of health issues itself, because our bodies are so intelligent. They can and will heal and do the right things if we give them the right nutrition. And that's why we're sick, is because we're not getting in the right nutrition. These two products just help with us getting in that nutrition and giving balance back. We call it bridging the gap. Okay. So again, I am going to head out now, you guys. So excited. I love the talk today. You guys are freaking amazing. But I'll be back tomorrow. If you guys, but before I go, is there anything in particular you guys want me to talk about tomorrow? Anything either with your health, a health issue? I don't have my list up today, so you can't see it. But sleep apnea, brain issues, PCOS, neuropathy, joint problems, stomach problems, any of that, let me know. I will come back and talk about it. Or if you just want me to do talks about like the glyphosates or the other problems with our food, then I'd love to come talk about that. RLB, I don't have a master's in biology. I was thinking about this today. What a lot of people don't know is I was actually going to school to become a PA, a physician's assistant, next to a doctor, right? Life happened. Life hit me in the face, and I wasn't able to complete that. I've always had a really curious mind. I've always loved science and how the body works, and I've always been a proponent of giving better solutions. Having worked in medical for so long, I saw so many people on the back end and what those other solutions, I'm going to say it like medications and stuff, did. One story, I'm going to share this and then I'm going to get off. One of the reasons I'm on fire for doing this now, instead of being in a doctor's office and handing people the prescription that the doctor wrote that I know is going to cause them to have other symptoms, that's going to cause them to have other problems, that's going to have them to have another medication, this doesn't do that. It's not giving you symptoms that you have to mask with another medication, with another something. It's actually healing your body from the inside out. I worked in an allergy clinic, and a woman came in, and she, we have to take in and chart all the medications you're on. You guys are all asked, what medications are you on? That's important. We do all of the stuff, the vitals, everything. This woman brought in 2 bags of medications. And even though I was in an electronic medical system, an EMR, it took me a half an hour to get those medications in. So it's typing in a few letters. Here comes a list, grab the right one at the right dose and put it in. And I still couldn't get through the list of medications. But what I noticed as I was putting them in is that she started with one complaint and 1 or maybe 2 solutions from pharma. And it ended up, those symptoms created the need for more medications, and the symptoms from those created the need for more medications, and the symptoms from those just created. So who profited from that? She's spending money. Her insurance company's spending money. She's getting sicker. She's not getting better. Or like I'm doing now, I'm helping people with 2 products that actually change your health from the inside out. I'm off of 13 medications. I was on path to be like her. I don't have a single prescription. And the only thing I have in my cupboards, and I haven't even touched in 2 years, is some NSAIDs that are left over. They probably need to be tossed. This system is what helped it. Red says all-time neurosciences and hormones. What hormones? Because there's a myriad of hormones. Is there a specific, like the sex hormones? Maybe leptin and ghrelin. Do we want to talk about that? Somebody asked about cortisol earlier. Do we want to talk about cortisol and its relationship to insulin resistance tomorrow? Or leptin and ghrelin, your hunger and satiety hormones? Red, give me a clue. Where do we want to go with that? Because that's a deep subject. That's a big subject, and I love it. But if you can text me if you don't get the answer in here, or just put it, I'll see it on my YouTube channel later, and I will come back and we'll talk about something to do with hormones, how they're linked to insulin resistance, and why they're off. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining me today. By the way, again, if you're interested in the products, use the link in my bio. If you're interested in joining me and helping people, and I want to say this, you do not have to know all the science that I know. This is just how I thrive. I love going and looking stuff up. That's a great subject. He said oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. Let's do that. Okay. So to me, all the hormones lean into neurosciences. So my brain was like crazy. But you guys don't have to know all this. You just have to know that the products work, that they're helping people, and that your voice, when you feel as good about them as I do, can help save somebody else's life. And that's the kind of people I'm looking for. So if you're interested in either one, there's links to get a hold of me on my link tree in the link on my bio. All right, you guys, love you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for spending time with me today. I can't think of a better way to spend my afternoons. With total hysterectomy, I'm not a doctor, Penny K, so I can't, I would do a bioidentical. When I worked in a hormone therapy, like the pre-packaged hormones, I would never, I will say this, not a doctor, not prescribing for anybody, but for me personally, I would never touch pre-packaged hormones. I would go in, have my hormones measured, and I would do your hormones personally. I would do them through saliva testing or 24-hour urine. That's going to give you a better idea of your hormones. Now I'm going to talk for a second more. Understand this. Blood work for hormones. A majority of your hormones sit in the platelets, the little red cells in your blood. When we draw your blood and we take it and we spin it down in like a brick top thing, it has a little wax thing that floats down, and it creates a differentiation between the platelets, which are very heavy, and the serum, which is not, and it blocks them off. The majority of your hormones are held in the platelets, and very little is held in the serum, and your hormones are changing throughout the day. So for me, it costs a little more. It costs a lot more. But if you really want to get your hormones under control, number one, get your insulin under control. Number two, do a 24-hour urine hormone test. Your urine will contain a lot of your hormones, and it's going to give them a better picture of what your hormones are total throughout the day. And you're going to have a much better answer as to how to address your hormones that way. Understand? It's crazy. It's crazy that they still use blood work for hormones, because it's probably the least accurate measure of your hormones. Link to product. Let me get that in here. There you go, you guys. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, I love questions like that. So again, I can't diagnose. You guys, it's not my scope. I'm just here to share information, and I can tell you what I would do, but I can never diagnose or prescribe for anybody. So let's be clear about that. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We're going to talk about oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, and how insulin resistance is jacking all of that up. Okay? We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, you guys. And Red, thanks for the suggestion. Amazing. You guys are amazing, amazing, amazing. I love you.